Crucifixional Lifestream. Glad to have you beautiful people with us today. We're talking about the way of the warrior saint. What the heck is that? What is the way of the warrior saint that you keep talking about, Father Chris? All right, I'm going to tell you. You asked? I'm going to tell you. The way of the warrior saint is a pathway, a way of life for someone who desires to be Christ-like, right? And live what we call a crucifixional life, which means the sacrifice of my will and my desires in order to make room for God's will. God's desire, so that I might find his commandments. And not to be too cliche about it, but where Adam and Eve failed and where Jesus Christ conquered, I'm trying to choose to be more like this and not like that. In order to do that, we must be crucifixional. That's that word we made up, which means the sacrifice of self in order to make room in our lives for the will of God. Now, the good news about that is when you do that and you live a Christ-like life, you live crucifixionally, you become a warrior saint, you're on the path to an exceptional life, right? Not just like the mediocrity of the world that's out there. And we all kind of feel that stuff tugging at us. And one of the things that is compelling towards a mediocre life is the desire to be right. All right, so Greg and I were having this conversation last night. We were talking on the phone last night, and there was a meeting, a meeting. People were meeting together, and somebody was making a case for something, and somebody was making a case for something else, and all the conversation. It was a lively discussion, and Greg decided that in his interaction in the movies, he's sitting back there, in the meeting, right? The movie's in here. In his interaction in the meeting, he was not really interested in being right, in getting his own way. He wanted to win, meaning to have a positive outcome to the discussion for himself, our job and work here, and also for all of the people participating in the meeting. And I said to him, like, it's pretty good, pretty mature attitude, right there, because the temptation, and I face it a lot in my own life, is to be right. I don't even necessarily mean that I want to win. I just need to be right, and I need to show the other person why I'm right, and therefore they are wrong. And this is kind of one of those things that we all fall into we fall prey, we fall victim to this mentality, that is desire to be right and not to win. Jesus, however, is telling us something very different. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, is the Sermon on the Mount. And in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is teaching his people, or giving them rather, the new law, right? And in chapter 5, verse 38 and 39, he says, you're going to see it on your screen here, you have heard that it was said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, right? Like, if somebody does something, you got to get them back. You got to be right, man. You have to show that person. And he says, wait, but no, I'm going to tell you something very differently. I'm going to tell you, turn the other cheek, right? Listen to the full passage here of verse 38 and 39. You have heard it was said an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist one who is evil. But if anyone strikes you in the right, turn to him also the other. And what he's doing here, what he's telling us, the Lord, is saying, look, you don't have to be right. Win. Right? You can win the situation. If someone smacks you and you turn the other cheek, bro, that's humbling for that person. I'm telling you, it is a humbling experience. And then all of a sudden, they might say to themselves, you know what? This person is actually right, and I'm wrong, right? And in that moment, you've won. Because your desire was not to get them back and to be right and show them, because you were willing to humble yourself and be crucifixional. You end up winning the situation in the end. Saving a friendship, maybe gaining a friendship. At least not allowing yourself to participate in evil and wickedness yourself, right? It's a very hard thing to do, right? Turning the other cheek, literally, but also, metaphorically or figuratively in our own lives. How often do we all have these encounters where we're struggling to be right, and really at the cost of winning? I'm sure if you're anything like me, you probably encounter that quite often, much like we did in this meeting that we started the episode with a few weeks ago. However, you don't have to be stuck in that. You can learn how to win, not be right, right? You can be right sometimes for sure, absolutely, and it's not precluding that, but it's saying that our desire is to get what we want, and I don't mean possessions, but get what we want, which is the win-win situation for all people involved. To do that, we can teach you how to do it. Listen. We have a program it's got two parts. It's the Way of the Warrior Saint. Here's your website. Number one, understanding the Bible. What is God saying? What is the commandment that he wants us to abide by? I don't understand the Bible all the time when I read it, Father Chris. I don't get it. Great. Visit warriorsaints.org. Subscribe to Understanding the Bible. It's exactly what it says. We're going to teach you to understand the Word of God so that 2, then you can start living the Word of God, which is the way of the warrior saint. It's a 6-part plan to take your newfound understanding of the Bible and implement it in your life. When you do that, follow this 6-part plan, you're going to find yourself on the road to an exceptional life. One of the episodes that we have in this 6-part plan, in the heart module, it's called Don't Be Right, Win. In this episode, we explore this temptation that you and I may face, you and I do face many times, about wanting to be right at the cost of winning the situation. So how do we overcome it? What does God have to say about it? And what are, some tools that I can implement immediately in my life so that I might start winning and not worried about being right? If you want to deal with the mediocrity and you want to stay there, that's your business. I'm not offended. You have that choice to make. But if you decide you want to become ferocious, baby, a strong man, a strong woman, a warrior saint, pretty simple. Subscribe to the Way of the Warrior Saint. You can even bundle them both at a discount. Either way, we love you. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless you and keep you as always. Keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.